Welcome all to another edition of the C64 Roundup, your concise guide to the latest news and releases for your Commodore 64. And what better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary of our favourite little machine than to showcase Monty Boyd's latest arcade-style game, Knights and Slimes. When your kingdom has been overrun by slimes, what are you going to do? You're going to grab a knightly hero and start cleaning up. The primary objective of the game is to clear the screen of all enemies for each level. You'll notice that the main gameplay mechanic in Knights and Slimes is inspired by the game Pang. Killing the enemies requires running into them with your weapon or jumping on top of them, whereby they'll initially split into two smaller sizes and you continue hitting them and splitting them until they're eliminated. You need to watch out when splitting enemies to make sure that they don't end up falling on top of your knight, so it becomes critical for you to understand the trajectories of the splits. But you also need to note that two enemies of the same size that touch each other will rejoin to form a larger enemy, so it's important to follow up your attacks. If an enemy hits you from behind, then you lose a health point. There are a few types of enemies within the game, but the main type of enemy you'll deal with are slimes. Different colour slimes display different behaviour, with the green being the most passive while the blue is the most aggressive. There are a number of different pickups to collect that will grant your knight temporary powers. These include the lightning bolt, which splits all enemies on screen once, the fireball that turns a player into a flying fireball, and ice storm, which freezes all enemies for a short time. You can also pick up apples to restore 1 health point. Knights and Slimes has 8 different knights for you to choose from. Each knight can accumulate experience points by collecting stars and defeating enemies. XP stats for any given knight are retained and can be built up upon across multiple playing sessions. For every 100 XP points achieved, then that knight gains an ability. The first extra ability awarded is extra health points, followed by double jump, and then the enchanted weapon. On the knight selection screen, you'll see 3 icons, with those highlighted in cyan representing gained abilities. The enchanted weapon is invoked by first filling up the enchanted meter, represented by the swords at the top of the screen, and then holding down the joystick to engage the one-hit kill mode. When you do complete a level, a summary screen is displayed, showing you whether you have earned any bonus points. There are 4 different worlds in Knights and Slimes, but only the first is initially unlocked. Completing all 8 levels of a world will unlock the next area. A new game can be started from any unlocked world, no matter which knight character you use. And all progress you make in respect to unlocked areas, Knight's XP and abilities earned, and high scores are automatically saved. A passcode system is also available to restore your progress in case you are playing Knights and Slimes on a device that does not support card saves. Knights and Slimes is a very well executed arcade style game for the C64. It is very easy to pick up and play, looks and sounds wonderful, and has a good deal of depth thanks to its inclusion of XP and ability rewards. It will certainly have you playing it hours on end, and for me is one of the stronger titles for 2022. Knights and Slimes will be released this weekend as a digital download purchase from Monty Boyd's itch.io page. Okay, it's now time to check out what's been making the news. Soren Trotner Madsen continues to work on Awesome Slam Siblings, a C64 tribute to Super Smash Bros., and has recently released this teaser trailer. Since his initial demo, Soren has focused his attention on refining his game engine to allow for the inclusion of additional levels. Further, he is looking at including some C64 game-based characters to the game. I think this is a great idea, as it will be far more effective in making the game connect with the C64 community. Soren's general concept for Awesome Slam Siblings is to offer a base game with a number of characters and levels, and then to offer expansion discs at a later date that will allow you to add more characters and levels. There's still a lot to do to bring the game together as a completed project, so this one is still quite a while away. Sarah Jane Avery, the 3-time winner of the RGN C64 Gamers' Choice Award, has switched her C64 development focus back onto Zeta Wing 2. Looking at the work in progress videos Sarah has been releasing on Twitter, I think it's safe to say that Zeta Wing 2 will provide the same quality level of arcade shooting action and plenty of parallax scrolling. I wouldn't expect this sequel to be radically different in any way, and I don't see this as a bad thing, as sometimes you don't need to tinker too much with a winning formula. It looks like Zeta Wing 2's visual and sonic improvements over the original game should be sufficient to provide C64 gamers with enough of a new experience. TRSI has provided the C64 community with a nice little surprise with their one-level demo of the Red Serpent Invasion. If you've ever wondered if our little 8-bit machine was capable of producing a quality Wolfenstein 3D style of game, well, TRSI has shown that it certainly is. The Red Serpent Invasion not only runs relatively smoothly, but it also does this while featuring scalable sprites and some texture to the game environment. Will TRSI have the motivation to take the Red Serpent Invasion beyond just being a tech demo? I suppose we'll have to wait and see on that one, as there have been many great projects in recent years that have stalled at the one-level demo stage. Quite an interesting demo, that one. Contains a good message, despite the ending being the same for all of us. But no need to dwell on that any further. We've got a handful of new game releases to check out. Jungle Joe is a puzzle platform game with a simple objective of building a path to the level exit by using wooden pieces to either make ladders going up or girders that expand horizontally. Joe carries a machete that he can use to clear vegetation and spiderwebs from his path, and with a well-timed swipe, eliminate nasty creatures such as spiders, bats and snakes. The puzzle element to the game is predominantly focused on managing supplies of wood, using boulders to trigger doors, all while selecting the most efficient path forward. Each level is made up of 3 distinct screens, and there are 3 different environments on offer. As a bonus, the game also includes a password system to load up levels already completed. I'm enjoying my time with Jungle Joe. It's very well presented, and the puzzles have just the right level of difficulty to them that make the game quite enjoyable to play. Jungle Joe is available as a digital download from itch.io. The Commodore 64 conversion of New Rally X has been completed. New Rally X is a maze and driving arcade game that was released in the arcades in 1981. You control a blue racing car with the objective of collecting all yellow flags before your fuel runs out. You have cars chasing you around and you lose a life if they hit you. You can defend yourself by pressing the joystick button to let off a smoke screen. The game includes challenge rounds where the red cars remain still and are only able to move after the player runs out of fuel. The final version of New Rally X C64 does not differ too much from the preview version from a gameplay perspective, but the graphic colours have been adjusted to provide the best mix of contrast and authentic look, and sprite flickering in certain circumstances have been minimised. While I am not the biggest fan of straight ports, I can't deny that I've enjoyed playing the game, and I really like Andrew Fisher's in-game jingle. Suits the game really well. You can download the game for free from itch.io. The Sea Camp is a horizontal shooter developed using a modified version of the shoot 'em up construction kit. I'm not really sure what is going on here, but you seem to play with a large water spray bottle, eliminating enemies by spraying water on them. The game certainly plays like a Sea game and contains some pretty dodgy hit detection. Gameplay wise, this is not really great. I guess the only real draw for me here is that the initial background graphics remind me of Platoon. The game is available for free from CSDB. Stefan Vox celebrates the C64's 40th anniversary by releasing a point-and-click version of The Curse of Ravenstein. The game was originally released in 2020 as a graphical text adventure. I remember enjoying playing through the game narrative with its casual difficulty, engaging storytelling, and wonderful pixel art. The point-and-click edition can be played with a mouse or a joystick, but its implementation doesn't quite work for me. The action menu sits on top of the story narrative, and I often found myself having to exit out of it to refer back to the text. It just comes out feeling somewhat clunky to play. My preference would be to play the passive version of the game, but that version is missing the atmospheric soundtrack that has been added to the point-and-click version. Stefan, I'd love the SID track to be added to the passive version if at all possible. Anyway, you can enjoy both versions of the game by downloading them from itch.io. Time for another Search-based shoot 'em up. Diamond sees you take control of a starship as you guide it through several enemy bases and do battle against the aliens. You'll come across green pods, pick those up for extra points. Extra lives are awarded for every 10,000 points scored. At the end of each level, you'll find boss battles. The gameplay on offer here is quite slow, and the enemy movement and shooting patterns are somewhat one-dimensional. Diamond is available as a free digital download for you to try out. Goshawk is intended to be an unofficial sequel to the classic Yars' Revenge. While graphically I can see the connection to Yars' Revenge, gameplays wise, things are somewhat different between the two. Goshawk is more of a collect 'em up game rather than your traditional shooter. Your objective is to collect 64 crystals and destroy the level boss. Impeding your objective, you have 2 cascading space cannons that at first appear to be quite benign in respect to the danger that they represent. but play the game long enough and you'll notice that they cautiously start to position themselves in a way that they will become a nuisance, so you have no choice but to shoot them, resetting their position. At the same time, a floating asteroid exhibits similar nuisance type behaviour. There is a semi-addictive element to Goshawk, as the motivation to collect all the crystals is strong, but it is a little rough around the edges in terms of implementation, and I'm not referring to its graphics, which I think are fine for this type of game. While general control is good, the game's hit detection is a little off at times, and some sort of counter showing how many crystals have been collected would have been greatly appreciated. Having grinded through to complete the first level, I was disappointed to see that level 2 was more of the same, but with enemies starting off more aggressively. I would have liked to have seen a little more variation here. I enjoyed the challenge of completing the first level, and I think there will be some of you who will appreciate its old school gameplay, but in saying all this, the lack of progressive gameplay limits the broader appeal of the game. Goshawk is available from itch.io as a purchase download. Little Nippers Deluxe is an enhanced version of the original 4K version, containing higher quality production values, a high score table, and 5 different seaside set locations. Little Nippers is a single button game where you shoot crabs from 8 buckets at kids passing by on the beachfront. You have 10 seconds to shoot from each bucket, and you cannot launch another crab until either the crab has nipped a runner or the crab has entered the deep area of the sea. Each level has a quota of kids you must hit, while the amount of crabs you have available to shoot is limited. It's a cute little game that plays fine as a high score chaser, and it's probably a fun one to play with your kids. Little Nippers DX is available as a free digital download. Party Speedway is a single button overhead racer that can be played with up to 4 players. The controls are simple. Press the joystick button to start accelerating, hold the joystick button down to turn left. Sadly, I didn't have any friends readily available to play the game with me, so I could only try the game out solo, but successfully taking the turns does feel good. Speaking to Tomix, the coder of the game, he intends to add more tracks and some league tournament features, as well as keyboard controls and maybe even AI opponents later this year. Shallow Domains is a turn-based strategy game played out on a hexagonal map. The game features 6 different terrains, 10 different types of units, and 15 different playable maps. Playing against a computer opponent, your objective is to destroy the enemy's command centers within the limited amount of days available. You and the computer enemy take turns issuing commands for moving and attacking squads in a predetermined order. A squad can only move within the visible area of the map, and there are also limitations around the type of terrain that each squad can travel over. Once all the commands have been set, they are then executed in the order they were commanded. Multiple battles against the same squad are executed in sequence. Each unit fires a limited number of shots per battle based on its type, and the order of shots fired is randomised. The probability of a hit is determined by the attacking unit's accuracy and the target's agility. Units can increase their experience level by engaging in battles. The more experienced a unit, then the better its battle performance will be. Shallow Domains is not for everyone, but I am enjoying my time with the game. You have to take the time to read the game manual to learn the basic mechanics, but I feel it has the right balance of depth without ever feeling too overwhelming. LC Games has quickly built themselves a reputation for converting old arcade titles to the C64 of late, but they have ventured out to try something a little more original with the release of Mike Mech. Mike Mech is a single screen platform game where you guide Mike the mechanic around the interior of a spaceship as he attempts to reactivate all of the batteries that are required to propel the ship through space. Go around the screen and illuminate every segment of the platforms you see. You can do this from any angle, not just by walking over the top of them. From time to time, crystals will appear on screen for you to collect for extra points. You'll need to take care to avoid coming into contact with alien enemies and cooling fans, and be aware that a countdown timer also applies. Mike Mech provides 2 ship layouts for you to explore, each containing 35 levels, with layout B containing higher difficulty settings. Well done to LC Games for trying out some original IP, and well done for providing a solid game for us to play. Mike Mech is available as a digital download from itch.io. And that is a wrap on another C64 roundup. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you've been inspired to check out some of the new releases. All relevant links to the releases are in the video description. Thank you to viewers who support RGN via Patreon or Ko-fi. Your contributions are very much appreciated and help sustain the channel's ongoing activities. Until next time, bye for now.